Dreamscape presents The Decorator Who Knew Too Much by Diane Vallere. Narrated by Susie Berneis. Prologue. Tex. Tex Allen wasn't the sort of guy who spent Saturday nights alone. There was the natural daddy complex, something he'd encountered early on in his days as a cop. But the older he got, the more interesting he appeared to be to the opposite sex. The other officers in the precinct called it the Clooney syndrome. They said the longer he indicated he wasn't interested in a long-term relationship, the more attractive he became to the ladies. The ladies, he thought with a chuckle. A couple of years ago, he would have thought of them as chicks, or worse, girls. That was before he'd met Madison Night. He didn't admit it to most, but ever since the day he'd found her and her Shih Tzu by the edge of the parking lot of Crestwood Pool, after finding a corpse under the back tires of her Alfa Romeo, he'd been a changed man. But Madison had started a relationship with Hudson James. Tex wasn't the type to hold anybody's past mistakes against him, but he couldn't help feeling jealous when he thought about Madison shifting from a life she shared with her dog to one she shared with her handyman. He poured the rest of his beer into his glass and clicked through the channels. No games, no James Bond movies, no Deadliest Catch marathons. There was an open invitation for him to join the off-duty Lakewood PD at Jumbo's strip club. But he'd been there and done that. He was approaching 50, and as much as he didn't want to admit it, lately he'd found himself thinking that maybe life was passing him by. Who knew a woman his age in a polyester suit from the 60s would be the one to make him rethink his lifestyle? Tex finished off his beer and got another. Downtime had been more and more like this. One beer too many, falling asleep in the recliner in front of the TV. As long as the morning pot of coffee got him going before he headed into work on the latest homicide, he was fine. He'd added in kickboxing and extra rounds at the shooting range, so he'd have an outlet for stress. He even sent Christmas cards to his remaining family members this year. And then there was Peter Randall, his one-on-one basketball buddy, who just so happened to also be his psychiatrist. Now, instead of going through the motions, he found himself thinking about opportunities lost and doors that had closed. Instead of focusing on doing his job every day, he questioned whether or not he was happy.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?